Before you begin, remember to like and subscribe if you're here late, and tell me where and when are you listening to this right now? Because this story, it starts exactly where you might be, suspended in a quiet moment on a rainy night. It's past midnight, the kind of time when the world outside seems to pause, or maybe just catch its breath. Rain taps softly against the side window, a steady rhythm that somehow sharpens your senses. You're sitting in the living room, the glow from a single lamp casting long shadows onto the wooden floor. Outside, the wind stirs, dragging the rain sideways against the glass. You hear the dull murmur of water sliding off the roof, the distant splash of a car passing on a wet road far away. Everything feels still, except for the quiet drip that's collecting at the gutter's edge. Your phone lies beside you, face down, its screen dark. No messages, no calls. Just the hum of the quiet night. Suddenly, there's a knock. Just one. Soft, but deliberate. It doesn't match the rhythm of the rain. Not a random pat or the wind rattling a shutter. You freeze. The knock comes again. The same slow, precise tapping on the front door's frosted glass panel. It's enough to stir that low tension in your chest, the kind that makes your skin feel colder somehow, despite the warmth wrapped around you. You slowly stand, feet cool on the wood, and pause, listening. The rain keeps falling, masking sounds, but the knock has stopped. You move to the door, finger hesitating just above the lock. It's the middle of nowhere, or close enough. The streetlight outside flickers weakly, smoke-gray clouds covering the moon. Nothing should be here but you and this quiet house. Your hand reaches for the peephole. You press your eye against the cold metal, adjusting your focus. Outside, the porch is dim, slick with rain, the welcome mat soaked and slightly curled at the edge. Nothing moves. No shadows shift. No figure blurs on the damp concrete. You lean in a fraction, trying to catch any hint. Mud, wet footprints, a flash of color, anything. Only the faint sound of rain and the tapping of branches from the breeze. Your heart doesn't settle. You check the chain lock, tightening it carefully, then cross the room to the side window, where the rain leaves tiny rivers tracing down the glass. It obscures your view, but you squint, catching a movement at the edge of the yard. Just a flicker of something like a coat being pulled tight against the wind. You walk slowly back towards the door, every small creak of the floor underfoot amplified in the quiet house. You consider calling out, but the sound of your voice feels intrusive, too sharp in the silence. Instead, you reach for the deadbolt and slide it home, the metal clicking reassuringly. Then you stand there, waiting, every corner of the room heavy with shadow, listening. The rain is softer now, a tired whisper more than a storm. Outside, headlights flicker briefly along a winding road miles away, cutting through thick darkness and empty mile markers. Minutes stretch, and the night holds its breath with you. The knock doesn't come again. You consider the possibilities. Someone lost. A trick of the mind, the sound of branches against the panes, but none settle your unease fully. You glance back to the window, the wet glass blurring everything into abstract shapes. What was the knock for? And even now, when the quiet returns in full, you wonder whether the night keeps some of its secrets just out of reach, waiting for the next knock to break them, or for you to listen longer and find out if silence itself can answer. Before we start, if you're tuning in right now, don't forget to like and subscribe. Then tell me, where and when are you listening to this? It's a quiet kind of night, isn't it? Just past midnight, the rain's trickling steadily out there, tapping against the bathroom window. You can hear it, a steady pulse that pulls you deeper into this moment. The air is cool and damp against your skin, the faint scent of wet earth drifting in through a cracked vent above. You're alone here, in this rented house on the edge of nowhere, where the winding road outside disappears into shadow and silence. You just stepped out of the shower. The warmth of the water is fading, replaced by a sudden coolness that makes your skin prickle. As you reach for a towel, something shifts in the quiet. Not the usual sound of rain falling or the house settling, but a faint creak, a soft footstep just beyond the bathroom door. You freeze. The tile beneath your feet feels sharp, cold. Your breath catches, heart nudging faster. The house hasn't groaned like this before. Not tonight. This step, it almost feels deliberate. You listen. Then again, there it is. A slow, tentative shuffle. It's not close, not right outside the door, but close enough that you can tell it's a cautious movement across the floorboards in the hall. The sound is muted, muffled by the thick wooden frame, but unmistakable. You glance toward the door handle, noting the cool metal. It's latched tight. You didn't leave it open, and the locks are just a twist away inside the bedroom next door. You reach for your phone, the screen illuminating your hand in a pale blue glow, fingers trembling slightly as you bring up the keypad. The time blinks back at you, 12:07 a.m., just past midnight. Outside, the storm has softened into a thin drizzle. You can hear distant traffic lights flickering somewhere on the winding road ahead, but no cars pass near enough to break the stillness here. The garden beyond the back door is slick with rain, leaves glistening under an old porch light that hums quietly. You stand still, taking in the familiar smells of damp wood and rain-washed earth, but the sound upstairs has stopped again. Silence returns like a curtain. Then, suddenly, a faint scraping noise comes from the floorboards near the side window. Your eyes search the darkness beyond, catching just the silhouette of a winged branch scraping against the glass. The window is locked tight. You shiver, though the room remains warm. You listen carefully now, breath shallow but controlled. Somewhere between the moments of rain, footsteps, and quiet, you feel the weight of waiting, the way the body holds itself, alert, while the mind turns over possibilities you don't want to face. You move toward the hallway, fingers sliding under the lock. You hold it in place, pressing your ear to the wood. No sounds now but distant dripping water and the faint hum of electricity. Part of you wants to investigate further, to check the back door, the porch, the shadows beyond the yard. But part of you wonders about the line you cross when curiosity turns into risk. You step back, close the door gently, resting your forehead against its cool surface for a heartbeat, feeling the pulse of your own breath in the quiet. Sometimes the spaces between the sounds are the loudest, filled with things you notice only because you expect them to be there. And sometimes, the absence of noise keeps you wondering, stretches the night longer than it should. What do footsteps in the dark really mean when no one's there? And if you listen long enough, do you hear truth or just your own waiting? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And where are you? What time is it for you? Because where I am, it's just past 3 a.m., and the rain taps softly against the side window, bursting in uneven rhythms, like a secret trying to get your attention. You're on the shoulder of a narrow road, standing just beyond the glow of the last working street lamp. The air smells heavy, wet asphalt, mixed with the faint, musky scent of pine needles crushed underfoot. The wind stirs quietly, carrying the occasional drip from soaked branches. Your raincoat clings damply to your skin, and every breath you take feels cold, sharp, tangible. Before you, the road stretches into darkness, a ribbon of slick black that curves out of sight between dense trees. Mile markers stand spaced apart like watchful sentinels, their white paint dulled and streaked with rain. You step forward, the rubber soles of your boots pressing into puddles, pooling at the edge of the asphalt. The soft splash merges with the endless patter of rain, creating a fragile soundtrack for this small, lonely vigil. You reach the nearest mile marker. You can just make out its number, chipped and weathered. It looks abandoned, forgotten in this stretch between nowhere and no one. The rain intensifies slightly, pattering stronger on your shoulders and sliding down your hood in thin, cold streams. You crane your neck, scanning the road behind and ahead. No headlights, no passing cars, no sign of life, except the restless shadows shifting between trees. Something unsettles you here. The way the darkness seems deeper, like it's holding back more than just absence. You step back and glance over your shoulder toward the little farmhouse you left a mile behind. Its windows dark but for a faint glow near the kitchen. The thought of returning warms you, but something about this empty roadside pulls at you still. Soft creaks drift from the wet branches above. A distant roll of thunder rumbles low and slow across the sky. The rain eases once more into a gentle drizzle, droplets sliding down your cheeks unnoticed. You look back to the mile marker, standing alone in the shadows, unmoving and silent. Your phone buzzes briefly in your pocket. The time, 3:05 a.m. The screen's light feels harsh in the dark as you pull it out, scanning for a signal. Nothing. The trees around you look dense and impenetrable under the overcast sky. The road that seemed empty before suddenly feels like it holds invisible passageways, waiting for something or someone to cross. You breathe out slowly, the cool air filling your lungs. Standing here, watching the rain trace wet tracks along the cracked pavement, you wonder how long a place like this can hold its secrets. How far does silence stretch before it starts to speak? And when headlights flicker in the distance, cutting through the dark, do they bring safety or a question you aren't ready to answer? Before we start, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight. And tell me, where are you listening from and what time is it? Because right now, it's just past 3:30 a.m. and outside the rain presses against the glass with a soft but insistent rhythm. The air smells of wet pine and cold earth, heavy and real. You're standing by the side of a winding road, the asphalt slick beneath your feet and the damp chill seeping through your jacket. The world feels muted, colors dulled by fog thick enough to blur the shapes of trees and signs. The faint nose of rain lingers on the air, dripping steadily from leaves and gutter spouts, the sound a constant whisper weaving through the silence. Ahead, faint lights flicker, headlights weaving slowly through the mist like ghostly orbs, cutting through the darkness with unpredictable pulses. They approach, fading in and out as the fog shifts, making you blink in surprise every time they vanish and then reappear. The road curves sharply beyond the crest of a low hill, no guardrail, just empty mile markers, standing like lonely sentinels, half covered in moss and shadow. The gravel crunches quietly beneath your boots as you shift your weight, the dampness soaking through the soles more with every slow, careful step. The air chills more here, the moisture dripping from branches into the fine laces of your hair. A sudden gust carries the faint scent of wet leaves mixed with the more distant, colder fragrance of distant wood smoke. You pull your coat tighter, your breath uneven as you scan the swirling mist. The headlights draw closer, then dim suddenly, consumed by the thick fog. No engine sounds rise with them, just the faint glow of bulbs casting their weak, flickering light on wet pavement. You consider stepping off the road, your fingers tightening absently on the small flashlight in your pocket, but there is no need for it. Not yet. Behind you, the faint outline of a cottage rests dark and silent against the trees, windows shuttered against the night and rain. No neighbors, no other lights break the dark hills stretching silently under heavy clouds. The only sound is the steady tapping of rain, the faint plink of a loose shutter banging somewhere down the road, and the slow, patient heartbeat of the night. The headlights pause just at the curve, a pale shimmer paused on the edge of vision. Then, with no warning, they vanish, swallowed by the fog hole, leaving the road empty again. You stand still, breath visible in the cold, damp air, listening to the quiet swell of rain and silence that follows. You realize the headlights were more than just light. They were a flicker of presence, a trace of movement through the waiting dark. And as the road stretches empty before you once more, you wonder what it is that keeps you looking, waiting for something, or perhaps someone, to appear in that shifting, flickering space between light and shadow. Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight. I'm curious, where are you? And what time is it for you? Because where I am, it's just past 2:30 a.m., the rain tapping steady against the side window, whispering its cold secrets into the quiet. You're standing near that window now. The air feels dense and damp, the scent of wet wood and heavy earth drifting in through a thin crack by the frame. Your fingertips brush the cool edge of the glass, the pane slick with rain tracing random paths downward, each droplet a delicate accordion folding light and shadow. Outside, the world blurs into a watercolor wash of gray and black, the dark limbs of trees bowing beneath the weight of the falling rain. The street beyond is empty, silent except for the gentle splash of water pooling on asphalt and a distant, irregular rumble of thunder folding itself into the night. Mile markers fade like ghosts into the haze, standing quiet and motionless along a winding road that disappears between hills and forgotten fields. The window is shut tight, the latch worn but holding firm. You press your ear to the cool wood of the frame, catching only the muted thrum of rain and the soft sighs of the house settling in the dark. There's a faint creak somewhere, stairs, or maybe an old beam shifting, but no voices, no chopping winds, no footsteps in the gravel beyond the yard. You step back, heart steady but alert, and reach for your phone. It's 2:32 a.m. You glance at the screen, fingers trembling slightly, before locking it away again into your pocket. Above, the porch light flickers, brief, uneven sparks, casting long shadows that tumble across the wet bricks and slick siding. You watch the rain for a moment longer. A pair of headlights flicker distantly along the winding road. They cut through the low clouds of fog before vanishing, brief beacons swallowed rapidly by black and rain. You imagine the empty mile markers stretched out, silent watchers in a world that seems to have stopped breathing. Behind you, the warmth of the house feels like a fragile shield, the low hum of the refrigerator, the gentle pulse of electricity in the walls. Outside remains a place of wet silence and shifting shadows. You wonder how long the night holds such quiet vulnerability, how long the house can keep secrets under the rain's steady refrain. When you turn from the window, your skin still cold from the damp glass, you ask yourself, what do we really see through closed windows? Are they protection, or just another kind of barrier keeping something waiting outside? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening along tonight. And I wonder, where are you right now? And what time is it for you as you hear this? Because where I am, it's just after 2 a.m., and the rain presses softly against the window pane, a delicate, constant whisper. You step outside, the night cool and damp, as you pull your jacket tighter around you. The street light near the old bus stop flickers weakly, casting long, broken shadows along the rain-slick pavement. The scent of wet asphalt mixes with the sharp freshness of pine. You catch the earthy tang of rain-soaked leaves crushed beneath your boots as you move closer. There, beneath the street lamp's uneven glow, is a figure, just a silhouette framed by shifting mist and dripping leaves, waiting silently on the cracked bench. You feel the rain cool on your skin as it slides down your collar, the dampness seeping into your hair, and you notice your breath fogging faintly in the cold air. The faint hum of distant traffic murmurs far away, just beyond the trees, where the winding road disappears into shadows. Your footsteps tap softly on the pavement as you slow, heart picking up its rhythm without rushing. The rain falls heavier now, a steady drum on metal and leaves. You edge closer, every sense alert, the small creak of your jacket, the soft splash of puddles, distant thunder rolling low and slow across the hills. The silhouette doesn't move, only remains, a dark shape outlined by the flickering lamp, still and waiting. You glance around quickly. No other sign of life, except the rhythm of rain and the steady pulse of electricity in the streetlight. The bench beneath the figure glistens with raindrops, worn and cold. You catch the faint hint of something nearby, a crumpled paper bag, the rustle of leaves stirred by a breeze. You resist the urge to call out. Sometimes the quiet speaks louder than words. You check your phone. It's 2:03 a.m. Signal's weak here, the screen's light sharp against the dark. You tuck it away, the warmth, a small comfort in your hand. Heavy breaths mingle with soft dripping. The wind pushes the figure's coat against the bench, folds shifting like whispered movement. Where did they come from? How long have they waited here in the night's chill? The rain's steady rhythm seems to pulse with quiet tension. You take a step back, giving the silhouette space and watching the rain slide in slow rivers down the glass of the empty bus shelter next door. The road beyond is empty, the mile markers glowing faint and worn beneath dripping branches. Your gaze lingers on the shape, a shadow caught between flickering light and rain, and you wonder what it is about these silent moments we hold so tightly. Is it waiting, watching, or simply being? And as the headlights flicker distantly far down the empty road, you ask yourself, who waits at the edge of silence, and who watches from within? Before we get into this, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And I wonder, where are you, and what time is it where you are? Because it's well past midnight here. Rain taps steadily against the side window, a slow, persistent rhythm that pulls you in. Quiet, but full of presence. You're standing just beyond the porch light, the damp air wrapping around you like a cool blanket. The night feels dense, as if soaked through with water and waiting. The smell of wet pine needles mixes with the earthy tang of soaked soil beneath your boots. Your jacket is heavy with moisture, droplets running off your sleeves onto the cracked pavement. Every breath you take tastes sharp and cold. In front of you, the road stretches out, narrow, winding, swallowed in shadow and mist. It curves gently into darkness, the asphalt slick and gleaming wet. Beneath the faint glow of a flickering street lamp, mile markers line the roadside, old and worn, their white paint dulled and chipped from years of rain and sun, standing like silent sentinels watching an empty world. Your footsteps sound hollow, soft splashes on puddled patches of road as you move slowly forward, each step careful, deliberate. The rain falls heavier now, tapping faster on the leaves overhead, and somewhere far off, a low roll of thunder rumbles, distant but steady. The wind shifts, pushing cold droplets into your face and stirring the wet branches so they scrape softly against each other. You pause at the curve, eyes scanning the thickening fog that curls along the trees hugging the roadside. The light from the street lamp flickers uncertainly, shadows twisting and leaning. The world feels slow, stretched, like time itself has softened around you. Between heartbeats, between raindrops, between the quiet hum of distant electricity and the rush of nature reclaiming space. The silence here isn't empty, it's charged. You hear the faintest crunch, a wet leaf stepped on somewhere just beyond your gaze. Your breath comes out in sharp little clouds, visible in the chilled air. You look back toward the house, a dim glow through shuttered windows marking warmth and shelter. No voices, no cars passed for miles, no footsteps but your own. The fog thickens, drawing the edges of the road into blur and shadow. A flicker, just a moment, of headlights distant and fleeting, cut through the mist, washing over the mile markers in quick, bright arcs before fading into black. No engine sounds, just the reaching, whispering rain. You lean back against the cold metal of a nearby guardrail, hands slipping slightly on the wet steel. The day's fatigue seeps into your bones, even as your skin prickles with restless alertness. Time slows, stretched over this stretch of road and rain, waiting for something unnamed to fill the spaces between moments. And in this waiting you wonder, how much of what we fear lives in the corners where silence presses hardest? How long can a road hold its secrets before it starts to tell them, if we only listen closely enough? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. I'm curious, where are you and what time is it for you as this unfolds? Here, it's just past 1:45 a.m. and rain taps softly against the windshield, steady but light enough to let you hear everything else. The world held quiet beneath a swollen sky. You're outside, standing beside your car on the shoulder of a winding, empty road. The damp earth smells deep and rich, the scent of wet leaves and cold soil clinging to the soles of your boots. The rain slides in slow sheets down the glass, its muted rhythm softening the edges of the night. Your fingers press against the cold metal of the door handle, the slickness almost too much for your grip. You slide inside, but when you turn the key, nothing happens. No engine burbles, no starter clicks. Just silence and the steady drip of rain off the eaves onto the pavement. You glance at the dashboard. No lights, no sound, just the faint glow of your phone resting in the cup holder, screen dim but alive. You check the time, 1:46 a.m. The quiet stretches thin between ticks of the clock and the steady drip, drip, drip of water. You try again, turning the key carefully, your breath slow and even, listening. One small cough from the engine, then a hollow pause. No relief, no promise of motion. You pull the keys free, the metal cold in your hand. You sit back, your head leaning against the seat, feeling the leather cool and damp beneath you, the faint scent of oil and fabric mixing in the space. Outside, the rain intensifies, louder now, muffling sound and shadow alike. The road curves beyond the small cluster of houses, like a ribbon folding into night, scattered mile markers glinting faintly in the distance. Not a car passes, not a single light moves across the black sky. You step out again, the door creaking soft in the rain, droplets sliding off your jacket onto the wet ground. The air grips your skin with sharp chill as you stare down the road, the wavering glow of a distant street lamp flickering uncertainly through the mist. The world feels held, paused between now and what's next, the road empty and waiting. You pull the door closed gently, checking the locks with deliberate care, hearing the click of metal snapping into place. Your fingers linger there, a familiar gesture, but the weight of waiting settles in your bones all the same. The rain trickles down in relentless threads, washing over everything, blurring distance and time. You slip your phone from your pocket and try to call for help. No signal. Your breath catches momentarily, the cold air sharp against your lungs. You glance ahead again, the winding road stretching away under flickering light and shadow. A car might pass. It might not. And as the rain softens to a hush and the night presses close, you wonder, in a moment like this, how do we measure time? The seconds that slip quietly away, or the ones that hold us frozen? How long does it take before waiting becomes its own kind of presence, quietly watching back? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight, and tell me, where are you and what time is it for you? Because it's just past 1:15 a.m., the kind of hour when the world feels stretched thin between silence and sound. You're standing at the threshold of a dark hallway, the rain tapping faintly against the window beside you, a steady, distant rhythm like a drawn breath. The air feels cooler here, heavier somehow beneath the shadows, pressed close by moisture. The scent of damp wood mixes with the sharp tang of cold air slipping through gaps in faded window frames. Your bare feet rest lightly on the worn floorboards, the grain rough beneath your skin. You can hear the faint drip of water from a loose gutter, a slow count of droplets falling one after another into a small, unnoticed puddle outside. Somewhere above, the timber creaks softly, a subtle exhale of the house itself settling in the night. As you step forward, the quiet shifts. Beneath your breath comes a sudden chill, the kind that edges your skin with goosebumps despite the layers around you. You pause, heart steady but alert, sensing something deeper in the stillness. The air feels thicker, pressing close with an unseen weight. A single cold breath brushes past your neck, half heard, almost imagined. You turn slowly, eyes adjusting to the darkness between soft pools of moonlight filtering through the curtained window. The hallway stretches out, a narrow corridor framed by aged woodwork, the wallpaper peeling faintly at the edges. Shadowed corners hide small details, a single framed photo, a loose thread hanging from the carpet's edge, the faint imprint of a footstep faded into the dust. You move forward deliberately, each footfall gentle, almost careful, as if not to disturb something fragile. You notice a faint outline on the wall where the light briefly flickers, a shifting patch of darkness that seems to breathe with the faintest ripple. Your skin tightens, every sense drawn taut with the uncertain weight of proximity and distance. Upstairs, a window light glows faintly, soft and warm against the shadows, comfort and isolation wrapped in one. Outside, the rain begins to ease, dripping slower now, the cold air carrying away the pressing scent of wet soil and pine. You feel the slow pull of time narrowing, a suspended heartbeat caught between what is and what might be. You reach toward a door at the corridor's end, your fingers brushing the cool brass knob, steady, grounded. You do not open it yet. Instead, you press your palm against the wall, the slight vibration beneath your skin, a reminder that the house lives, breathes, watches in its slow way. What is it about a breath in the dark that unsettles us most? Is it the body remembering presence, or the mind filling silence with its own stories? As the rain softens and the shadows lengthen, you wonder how much of what unspools in that quiet space is real, or only what we let ourselves believe. Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. Tell me, where are you and what time is it for you? Because here, just past 1:50 a.m., the rain presses gently against the window pane. The air is cool and thick, scented faintly with wet wood and moss. You stand near the basement door now, the worn wooden frame cool beneath your fingertips. The floor is damp, carrying that faint earthy smell, like the house is breathing through its foundations. The light above flickers in hesitant pulses, casting long shadows that shift and stretch along the narrow stairwell leading down. You flip the switch. The bulb sputters alive, casting a yellow veil over damp concrete steps slick with a thin sheen. The air rises cold and sharp, touching your skin with a restless chill. You can hear the rain's soft patter above, muffled by thick walls and soaked earth, but the basement's quiet feels different, thicker, weightier. Your hand slips along the banister, rough with worn varnish, as you lower yourself onto the first step. The house creaks softly, settling deeper into night. Beneath you, the shadows pool like liquid ink, swallowing the stair edges where the light fades. Your breath puffs faintly, hanging briefly like smoke before dissolving. A sudden sound breaks the stillness. A soft scrape, barely audible, coming from below. You freeze. Your eyes scan the descending stairs, searching the darkness for a shape, a glimmer, any sign of movement. The silence returns, thick and deliberate, broken only by the rain's distant rhythm. You reach the third step, fingers tightening around the cold banister. The smell, musty old wood mixed with damp stone, grows sharper. Somewhere deeper, a faint, slow drip echoes in the cavernous space. It is an unsteady heartbeat, steadying your own. Your eyes adjust, catching the soft outline of a shadow just beyond the stairwell's edge. Too tall and too still to be the play of light alone. The shape melts partially into the dark, then shifts slightly, a movement so subtle it might be your imagination. You want to call out, but your voice feels stuck, too loud in the heavy air. Outside, distant headlights flicker briefly on wet roads, their light washing over empty mile markers stretched like quiet watchers along winding paths. You think about the miles between you and the rest of the world, about isolation held in rain and shadow. Your fingers trace the stair's worn edge, trembling just slightly, grounding you. The cold breath of the basement lingers, carrying the echo of something unspoken, a presence waiting, watching just beyond reach. You step back slowly, heart steadying with the retreat. The silence thickens, the rain whispers on, and you ask yourself, what does it mean to sense a shadow when there's no one there? And in the spaces between light and darkness, how often do we imagine what's waiting, as opposed to what truly waits for us? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe, and tell me, where are you, and what time is it for you as you listen? Because out here, it's just past 2 a.m., and rain taps steadily against the side window, a pattern that feels familiar, yet never quite comforting. You stand inside a small room, dimly lit by a single lamp whose light struggles amid the shadows pressing at the corners. The air is heavy with the scent of damp wood, a mix of old floorboards and rain-soaked earth that drifts faintly through a cracked window frame. Your skin feels cool where it brushes the thin fabric of your shirt, and there's a subtle chill, like the kind that creeps in just before a storm truly settles. Your gaze rests on the door ahead, a plain wooden rectangle, its surface worn smooth with years of use. The knob gleams faintly in the lamp's glow, polished brass dulled by fingerprints and time. Outside, the rain's rhythm shifts, intermittent now, a slow drip that echoes softly against the gutters. You move closer, footsteps low and measured, the floorboards muted beneath your socks. The closer you get, the sharper the scent becomes, wood smoke mixed with wet stone, carried in on a breeze, slipping between shutters. Your breath catches slightly, more from anticipation than cold. Your fingers curl around the doorknob. It's cool, a little slippery from the moisture clinging to it. You turn slowly, the metal making a soft creak as it moves against the mechanism inside. The sound is quiet, but sharp, slicing through the rain's gentle chorus and the house's steady creaks. The door nudges open, ever so slowly, a tense space blooming full of silence. You don't push further, just watch the gap widen inch by inch. Past the threshold lies darkness thicker than the shadows behind you, a hollow that seems to breathe. Your eyes strain to adjust. The faintest hint of movement flickers beyond, like the edge of a curtain caught on a silent breeze. The distant rumble of thunder swells low and slow, a breath beneath the rain's taps, wrapping around the house and filling the spaces where sound used to be. You catch a faint note of something else, maybe footsteps, soft, tentative, as if the night itself is stepping lightly to avoid waking the sleeping. You pause, heart steady but alert, hand lingering on the door, feeling the weight of that slow turn in your palm. A simple motion yet heavy, with unknown intent. The house settles again, sighing softly, its bones shifting under the rain's persistent watch. Outside, faint headlights flicker from a road lost in darkness, cutting brief arcs through empty mile markers standing sentinel in the wet night. You pull your hand away, closing the door with gentle care. The latch clicks into place, a final, solid sound. You stand still for a moment longer, breathing in the damp air, feeling the pull of that slow turn echoing in your mind. What was behind the door? And when the knob moves without your hand, does it turn towards safety or something else entirely? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight, and tell me, where are you and what time is it where you are? Because where I am, it's just past 3 a.m., the rain steady outside, tapping a slow rhythm against the side window, like a distant drumbeat pulling you in. You're standing in the living room now, the soft glow of a single lamp mixing with the silver of streetlights filtering through half-closed curtains. The air smells thick with damp wood and the faint, sharp scent of rain soaking into earth nearby. Your bare feet press lightly against the cool hardwood floor, the grain rough beneath your skin, grounding you in this stillness. Your eyes catch it first, the light upstairs. A pale, steady glow from a second-story window. Its warmth a contrast to the dark, sodden night outside. It's a room you thought you'd left dark before going to bed, empty, or at least quiet. But there it burns, soft and watchful, spilling a narrow band of light across the porch roof and the dripping gutters. You turn slowly toward the staircase. The polished handrail cool and smooth under your fingers as you climb, step by slow step, the quiet creak of floorboards beneath you sounding loud in the still house. The smell changes, subtler here, woven with the faint mustiness of old books, lingering perfume, something like forgotten fabric. At the top, the hallway stretches quiet and dim, the glow coming from the last door on the right. Your fingers graze the light switch, hesitant, but you don't flip it on. The room's door is slightly ajar, just enough to spill amber light into the corridor. You lean closer, noticing a slow movement, shadows shifting just beyond the glass on the nightstand, maybe the flicker of a candle or the pulse of a small lamp's bulb. The rain outside shifts its rhythm, heavier now, with soft taps that patter against the window panes like whispered steps. Somewhere in the distance, a faint rumble of thunder rolls low and far, folding itself around the quiet breathing of the house. Your breath catches for a moment, watching the interplay of shadow and light as the room seems to hold its breath too. You reach out, fingertips brushing the wooden door frame, feeling the contrast between the warm glow inside and the cool silence of the hallway. The scent of something faintly floral lingers in the air, a trace of lavender or vanilla, mingled with the damp earthiness of the rain outside. You pause, heart steady but alert, standing in this quiet threshold between comfort and something just beyond the edge. The headlights flicker faintly on the winding road, visible through another window down the hall, their brief illumination cutting across empty mile markers swallowed by night. And as you step away from the door, the light dims ever so slightly, as if a breath passed through the room and faded with it. You wonder then, in this soaked, shadowed moment, how much of the night's watchfulness is waiting to be seen, and how much prefers to stay just out of reach. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe if you're joining me tonight. And I'm curious, where are you listening right now, and what time is it where you are? Because this next moment unfolds in a very specific setting, and it's one you might find yourself slipping into as raindrops tap insistently against a window. It's just past 1 a.m. The rain falls steadily outside, not quite a storm, more a persistent drizzle that catches the faint glow of a street lamp shining weakly from the road behind the house. You wake to the soft, steady trickle of water hitting the side window of the spare bedroom, the one facing the backyard. There's a faint chill in the air, a dampness that seeps through the curtains hanging limp and heavy. The smell of wet wood and earth filters in from cracks near the sill, the scent familiar but heavier tonight. Damp, alive. You reach out, tracing a finger along the cool glass. The drops slide down slowly, merging, catching the dim light, like tiny lanterns making their way down. Your palm feels cold pressing there, the trace of cold wood beneath the pane sending a shiver up your arm. You pull the curtains open just a fraction, careful not to make sound, opening yourself up to the outside without fully letting it in. The backyard is shadowed, gray and still. The scent of damp leaves and fresh rain hangs thick. The porch light flickers, buzzing faintly in the rain, unsteady, unstable like a heartbeat. A stray breeze carries the soft rustle of branches scraping against the side of the house. You pause and listen, breath steady, trying to read the silence behind the noise. Then, just as the rain softens to a drizzle, a faint knock breaks through, a quick, soft tap on the back door. Not sharp or urgent, just deliberate, enough to stir a thread of tension in your chest. You watch the door, waiting, but nothing else follows. No shadow slips past the glass. The rain patters louder, almost drowning that single sound out again. You step away from the window, the floor creaking underfoot, the warmth of the room waiting for you like a soft blanket. You flick on the hallway light, the sudden brightness pale and steady. You move slowly toward the back door, locking eyes with the frosted glass panel at its center. Through the peephole, darkness looks back, rain-streaked and quiet. You scan the porch floor slick with water, no footprints, no sign anyone has passed. You check every lock. The deadbolt clicks tight, the chain secure and taut. Your fingers linger for a moment on the cool metal, then press the small button on your phone to light the porch. The glow reveals the yard, empty except for glistening blades of grass and puddles that ripple faintly with each drop. Outside, far off, headlights flicker along a winding road that you can almost see from the window, passing silent mile markers swallowed in blackness. You feel the wetness on your skin again, from the cold air drifting inside, or maybe from sweat you didn't notice before. The house settles. The rain resumes its steady rhythm. You sit back down, eyes returning to the window, watching each drop trace a new path downward. It's strange how the rain seems to carry its own kind of weight, heavy with quiet, thick with waiting. And you wonder, not for the first time, what it means to feel watched when all you see is shadow, even when there's no one there at all. How much of what unsettles you comes from the rain, and how much from the spaces it leaves empty? Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And tell me, where are you, and what time is it for you? Here, the rain taps quietly against the window, a gentle soundtrack for the small, thick hours past midnight. You're in the living room, the faint glow of a lamp casting warm light over familiar furniture, but your gaze drifts toward the hallway instead. There's a stillness that settles in the air, mingled with the damp scent of rain carried faintly on a breeze slipping through a cracked window in the kitchen. The house smells of old wood and faint traces of coffee, and something else, an almost imperceptible weight that pulls at your attention. Earlier tonight, you expected the house to be empty. The last guest left hours ago, a quick goodbye, their suitcase pulled away on wheels that hummed softly on the porch. But now, as the wind pushes droplets against the sides of the house in uneven taps, you notice something's off. The hallway stretches long and quiet, the soft sound of your bare feet on hardwood broken only by the occasional creak. A subtle reminder the house breathes beneath your presence. You move slowly toward the bedroom at the end, the door slightly ajar, unexpected. The warmth from within nudges through the narrow gap, the scent of faint perfume, and the mingled notes of worn fabric. Your hand pauses at the edge of the doorframe, fingers brushing against the cool paint. You step inside, the room holding a soft, steady light from a small lamp on a bedside table. The bed is unmoved, but for an indentation where someone could have rested. A half-empty glass on the nightstand catches the dim light, droplets clinging to its outside like tiny jewels. You search quietly. Nothing stirs except the faint tap of rain on the window pane, the distant roll of thunder threading low beneath the house's creaking frames. But the feeling that you're not quite alone lingers, a presence half seen in the dim corners, a shadow slipping just beyond sight. Checking your phone, the screen glows 1:17 a.m. You consider calling out, but your voice feels intrusive, too loud in the woven silence. Instead, you close the door gently, locking it with careful fingers. The lock clicks firm, a fragile boundary against the unknown. In the quiet, rain swirls softly against the porch roof. Footsteps settle in your memory, those last ones leaving, and the ones you can't find now. Were they ever gone? The night thickens, keeping its secrets close beneath the falling water, and you wonder quietly if sometimes the guest who leaves is never truly gone, and if the silence that follows is just waiting to be heard. Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And I'm curious, where are you? And what time is it where you are? Because where I am, it's past midnight, the kind of hour when the rain layers sound and shadow, washing the world silent outside this small, warm space. You find yourself sitting on the covered porch of a rental cabin off a winding country road, the night thick with wet pine and moss. Rain taps lightly on the wooden rail beside you, a steady drumming softened by the thick forest canopy. The air feels cool against your cheeks, heavy with dampness and the faint scent of wood smoke lingering from earlier. Your fingertips trail absently over the weathered planks, rough where the varnish has worn thin. The porch light flickers weakly, casting long shadows that twist and move with the rain's rhythm. Behind you, the cabin's windows glow warmly, pockets of comfort against the damp and dark beyond. Somewhere in the distance, headlights trail slowly along the winding road, their glow a brief flicker across the silhouette of clustered mile markers, standing at even intervals like silent guides. You notice movement just beyond the edge of the porch light, a figure, hunched slightly, stepping carefully over roots and stones. The stranger's jacket is heavy with rain, dark and outline blurred against the washed blackness of the woods. You feel a sudden sharpness in the air, a tightening in the silence. The porch creaks gently beneath your weight as you rise slowly, muscles taut, eyes locked on the figure. They don't call out, don't wave. A quiet presence seeking shelter maybe, or just passage. Their footsteps press softly into the sodden earth, leaving prints that darken the lawn like whispers. You watch them hesitate before the porch steps, fingers briefly brushing a pack slung low against their hip. A resigned exhale escapes you. Not quite relief, not quite fear. You don't move closer, just remain poised in the mild yellow light, despite the chill settling in your bones. The rain shifts, dropping heavy now, a steady rush against the roof and trees. You step toward the door, locking it behind you with smooth, practiced motions. The click of the deadbolt echoes strangely loud in the stillness. You glance again toward the porch. The figure has disappeared, absorbed into the shifting shadows of the yard, leaving only faint footprints fading back toward the dark trail of the winding road. You feel the quiet weight of waiting in the suspended moment. The rain, the road, and the stranger who came and passed like a question with no answer. And you wonder, as the night stretches on, how far does the boundary between safety and vulnerability really extend when the woods are watching, and the miles between mile markers stretch silent and unlit? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight, and tell me, where are you, and what time is it for you? Because here, it's well past midnight. The rain taps cold and steady against the side window, a rhythm that pulls you deep into the quiet hours. The smell of wet wood and damp earth clings to the air like a secret you can almost touch. You notice it the instant you step into the kitchen of this old rental house, nestled far from the nearest town. The scent of rain soaking into cracked floorboards, mingling with the faint musk of worn fabric and cleaning supplies left from earlier. Your skin prickles slightly, the chill settling deep beneath layers you hadn't noticed before. You shuffle over to the wall-mounted phone, a relic smelling faintly of dust and plastic. The receiver hangs off its hook, swinging gently when you nudge it with a fingertip. The cord twists slowly in your hand, damp and slightly sticky, and your breath catches a small knot of surprise in your chest. The phone should be neatly cradled, silent, but here it is, off the hook and still. You straighten, eyes drifting toward the dim hallway, where faint lights flicker, reflections of street lamps caught in glass. The rain beyond pounds out its endless pattern on the roof and gutters, punctuated by distant thunder murmuring low and slow. The quiet hum of the house feels fragile, held together by silence and the steady pulse of electrical currents. Your fingers tighten on the receiver, wondering if something unseen left it there, a sign or a slip. You listen, heart steady but alert, for the faintest sound, maybe a dial tone, a line left hanging in the dark. Instead, there's only the soft drip of water running down the kitchen sink, and the rustle of leaves pressed wet against the nearby window. You reach for your phone on the counter, eyes flicking to the screen. The timestamp blinks 12:47 a.m., not long after the last call you made here earlier. You tap, trying to get a signal, but the screen stays frustratingly blank, the remote hills swallowing the signal like mist sliding over silent curves of empty road. You cross to the back door, your footsteps muted on threadbare rugs. Rain's soundtrack follows, a tapping, a sliding, a whisper pressed against soaked wood and cold stone. You peer outside. The yard is dark and empty except for puddles catching dim light, the bent shape of a forsythia bowing under the weight of water. The door clicks softly as you latch it tight behind you, the metal cold and sure in your hand. Instinct urges you to check windows, locks, the chain across the front door. You move methodically, testing, securing, listening. Nothing but the rain and its patient song. And as you stand there, the rain's endless rhythm threading through the thickening night, you wonder, what lingers in a phone left off its hook? Is it a sign of an interruption, a call unanswered, or simply a moment forgotten in the tide of silence? How long before waiting becomes a voice, speaking from the quiet? Before you settle in, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And as you listen, I wonder, where are you? What time is it where you are? Because where I am, it's late. The kind of hour when your breath comes out quick and soft, and the rain taps a steady rhythm against the window, like a heart beating softly in the night. You slip quietly out the back door, the familiar creak muted by the thick night air. Your feet find the uneven stone path, slick with rain, cool water pressing into the fabric of your shoes and soaking your socks just a little. The garden smells rich and damp, wet earth mingled with the faint sweetness of crushed leaves and pine. You step past the tangled rose bushes, careful to avoid the thorns that glisten sharply beneath the streetlight's fractured glow. Your attention shifts to the post box, a metal rectangle perched crookedly on a wooden post near the bend where driveway meets road. It's always been a little stubborn, the latch prone to sticking, but tonight the door swings easily open, moving on rusty hinges with a slow groan. The inside smells stale, a mix of damp paper and time left unturned. You reach in carefully, fingers brushing wet envelopes, some curling gently at the corners, others sodden and limp. One folded letter slips slightly free, its paper rough and cold beneath your fingertips. You wonder who it was meant for, whether it's been here days or only hours, and why no one came to collect it. The rain intensifies suddenly, drumming louder on the metal lid, sending tiny rivulets down its sides. You close the postbox door with a cautious push, but it doesn't quite latch, hanging at an awkward angle, half open as if inviting something in or out. The street beyond lies thick with mist, the faint glow of flickering headlights tracing arcs along the winding road. Empty mile markers stand sentinel, blurred and distant beneath the haze. No cars pass here often. It's the kind of place where time seems to crawl, lingering in shadows and wet corners. You pull your jacket tighter around you, the chill settling into your bones in a way the rain can't fully explain. As you turn back toward the house, the quiet hum of electrical lines mingles with the steady tap of rain and the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. The postbox remains just where you left it, half open, waiting. You pause for a moment, wondering how many stories slip inside such neglected spaces, carried only by the damp, the silence, and whoever stops long enough to notice. What messages do we miss when the door is left open? And in the spaces between what's sent and what's received, who is really listening? Before we dive in, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight. And tell me, where are you and what time is it where you are? Because here, it's well past midnight, and the rain taps softly but steadily against the side window, a slow rhythm weaving through the silence. You stand near the side door of the house, the damp air clinging to your skin and filling your nose with the earthy scent of wet wood and forest floor. The porch light flickers faintly above, sputtering like a heartbeat out of sync, with the steady drizzle falling in thin sheets. Your fingers brush the cold metal of the door handle, slick with moisture. Despite the warmth inside, the chill seeps in here, drawing goosebumps across your arms. The house is otherwise silent. No hum of appliances, no creak of settling beams, just the rain and the soft rustle of leaves caught in the wind's unseen fingers. You step onto the porch, wood groaning underfoot, each board wet and slick. The smell of pine and damp earth is stronger here, the forest pressing inward just beyond the edge of light. Ahead, the garage door looms, a tall, pale panel against the darkened side yard. It's weathered, paint cracked and peeling, soaked through with years of rain. You approach slowly, each step measured. The rain softens to a whisper now, gentle taps on the roof and in the gutters. The air holds a quiet tension, as if the night itself waits. Then, a creak, slow and deliberate. The garage door shifts slightly, a hinge easing, or perhaps a breath escaping. You freeze, heart steady but sharp. The sound is real and clear, enough to make you lean in, eyes narrowing toward the faint crack of movement in that huge, silent slab. You circle toward the back, footfalls muted in the wet ground, senses drawn taut. The yard smells adrift with the sharpness of wet grass and the damp tang of rusting metal. No footprints except your own pressed softly into mud, but the door creaks again, a subtle grinding shift. Your hand lifts toward the latch beside the door, fingers grazing cool metal as you check the lock. It's fastened, tight against the tired wood. You grip the handle and tug gently, the door moving with a groaning protest before staying firmly shut. You step back. The night breathes in slow, wet waves, the rain softening again to a drizzle, the trees murmuring softly as the wind shifts. Somewhere far off, headlights flicker along the winding road, casting brief, distant arcs of light over rain-slick pavement and empty mile markers. You turn toward the porch, feeling the weight of waiting fold around you. The quiet seeped into your bones, the slow creak of that door lingering in your thoughts. How much does the night hold simply in pause? Just a sound waiting to be named. And how long does silence stretch before it becomes something more? Before you settle in tonight, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me. And tell me, where are you? And what time is it for you right now? Because where I am, the world lies wrapped in snow, quiet, except for the soft tap of flakes against the window. It's just past midnight, and the cold presses close, thick under a dark, clouded sky. You step outside, the air sharp and clean, laced with the scent of pine resin and frozen earth. Your breath comes out in white puffs, tiny ghosts that vanish instantly. Beneath your boots, the snow crunches wet and fresh, each step pressing deeply into the soft, untouched blanket. The cold bites through your gloves as your fingers brush a branch dusted in ice crystals. They glitter faintly, tiny jewels in the muted glow of the cracked porch light. A faint rustle catches your attention. You pause, the silent expanse of night folding around you like a shroud. The only other sounds are the distant drip of melting snow from the roof edge and the low, restless sigh of wind weaving through skeletal branches. You look back at the house, the warm glow spilling softly from curtained windows, a sharp contrast to the frozen stillness outside. Your eyes scan the ground beyond the porch, and you notice footprints. Fresh tracks pressed deeply into the snow, too big to be yours, leading away from the house and toward the thinning line of trees marking the yard's edge. They begin at the side gate, left slightly ajar, the latch creaking faintly in the cold breeze. The prints snake between bushes, disappearing into the dark shadows of the woods beyond. A shiver runs through you, the cold no longer just on your skin but curling deep inside. You lean closer, fingers tracing the edges of the footprints, feeling the crisp snow melting slightly from your warmth. Nearby, a twig snapped, the sound sharp and sudden in the quiet, and you catch the faint stir of movement hidden just beyond the reach of the porch's light. You take a cautious step back toward the door, the damp wood cool beneath your palm as you close it gently behind you. The latch clicks softly, a small punctuation in the hush of the night. Inside, the house breathes its warm, familiar comfort, the faint hum of the heater mingling with the slower rhythm of your own heartbeat. Outside, the snow continues to fall, each flake a whisper coating the tracks until they may disappear entirely. You wonder how long those footprints lay in the silence before you notice them, and if waiting for someone means hearing more in the absence than in the presence itself. What do the tracks in the snow say about those who pass unseen? And in this still, frozen moment, who watches you from the shadowed trees, and when will you realize you've always been waiting? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here this late, and tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are? Because it's after midnight here and outside, rain taps steadily against the side window, a slow, persistent rhythm that pulls you deeper into the quiet night. You find yourself moving through the empty school corridor. The air is thick with that unmistakable scent. Old vinyl, damp concrete, a hint of chalk dust lingering like a ghost from the day. Your footsteps fall lightly on the linoleum floor, echoing faintly, each step a small intrusion into the stillness. The lighting is dim, flickering sporadically as the fluorescents struggle against the building's age. A hum buzzes overhead, then soft clicks as a bulb flickers on, then off again. The wavering light paints long, uncertain shadows along the peeling walls, stretching down the length of the hallway where lockers, chipped, faded green, stand silently closed. A distant thunder rumbles low, rolling gently beneath the rain's softer percussion on the windows. The wet earth beyond blurs the view outside, and water pours steadily from the gutters, a whispered gurgle that hushes into the night. The heavy scent of rain drifts inside, mingling with the sterile, familiar odors of the school, a place meant to be full of life, but now holding only its quiet memory. You pause near a classroom door, slightly ajar. Through the crack, You see desks orderly yet frozen in time, a lone notebook left open mid-page, its ink smudged by moisture or hurried hands. Your fingertips brush the door frame, cool and rough beneath your skin. The silence feels almost carved, deliberate in how it thickens around you. Somewhere deep in the building, a soft creak breaks the stillness, a locker swinging almost imperceptibly, or maybe the slow shift of settling foundations. You hold your breath, senses attuned to the faintest sound. The corridor seems to lean in, holding space, waiting. You move slowly forward, each step measured, every sound amplified in this subdued world. Your mind drifts toward the empty mile markers of the winding road nearby, silent guardians long after traffic has passed. Much like this hallway holds echoes of voices now gone. The rain shifts again outside, from steady tapping to a softer drizzle, and a faint flicker pulses through a distant window like a heartbeat pulsing in the dark. You glance around, feeling the vast emptiness of the space, the distance stretched by time and solitude. You wonder, in places built for connection, for noise and life, what lingers in the quiet hours between days? How long does absence hold its breath before it becomes presence? And if you listen long enough, can silence itself begin to speak? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're listening tonight. And tell me, where are you? What time is it for you as this night unfolds? Because where you find yourself now, the rain is falling thick and slow, drumming a quiet rhythm against the weathered siding and the cold glass of the windows. It's long past midnight. You step outside, the air sharp, tinged with wet pine and the dampness that seeps from earth soaked through days of rain. Your jacket holds little warmth against the climbing chill as you make your way to the small bus stop beside the weather-beaten road. The boarded bench sits beneath a flickering street lamp, its light wavering like a dying candle, casting uneven shadows that leak onto the slick pavement. Your boots splash quietly in puddles pooling at the curb, cold water seeping through the seams. The night is full of layered sounds. The distant rush of water falling, the occasional gust that stirs wet leaves, the tapping rhythm of droplets chaining down gutters. Somewhere, a gate creaks, a slow lament swallowed fast by the pattering rain. You glance up and down the winding road, its black ribbon disappearing into thick pockets of fog and shadow. Empty mile markers stand sentinel along the edge, ghostly and faint beneath the lamplight's trembling glow. No cars pass, no headlights cut through the mist, just the still air, and you. Minutes pass. Your breath forms pale clouds in front of you, each inhale sharp and cold, each exhale a small gust swallowed by the night. The waiting presses on you, a tangible weight in your chest, a tension woven deep in the silence between raindrops. Then, headlights flare suddenly far down the road. They flicker, brief like a warning, and slowly approach. Their faint glow stretches across wet asphalt, casting long, distorted shadows before dimming slightly as the storm muffles the engine's purr. You watch for the bus you know won't stop unless someone waits. The headlights vanish, swallowed by the rolling fog and rain, leaving behind empty darkness and the echo of a distant, fading hum. The street lamp flickers again, pulse slowing, and the rain softens to a drizzle, shifting the night's sound from urgent to gentle. You shift on the bench, jacket pulled tighter, heart steady but alert. The road, the rain, the mile markers, they hold their secrets well. The night stretches long, and you wonder, how long can waiting linger before it becomes its own kind of answer? When does the quiet become the question itself? Hey, before we settle in, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight. And I'm curious, where are you listening to this? And what's the time where you are? Because the night's different depending on where you find yourself. For now, it's 3:17 a.m., the kind of small hour when the quiet swells and every sound feels like it's stretched out, waiting. You're standing in front of the front door again. The rain settled into a soft drizzle, a steady whisper against the glass panels framing the solid wood. The air smells cool and wet, a mix of earth and wood that seep through the cracks around the doorframe. Your hand is cold where it rests on the brass doorknob, slippery from the damp you didn't realize was on your skin. Inside, the house hums with the quiet buzz of a lamp left on in the hallway, casting a pale pool of light across the floor. You take a breath, steadying yourself. Something about this moment, the way the rain trails down the window beside you, the faint creak of the settling house, makes your skin tingle. Not from fear exactly, but from that prickling attention the dark demands when you're awake inside it. You bend slightly, placing your eye against the peephole set just above the lock, feeling the cool metal press against your temple. Outside, the lens magnifies a small oval of the porch, slick and shining under the flickering light. The rain traces rivulets down the wooden floorboards, gathering in little pools near the edges. You scan carefully, eyes searching for movement, for shadows. There's nothing, no footprints, no shapes shifting in the periphery. The night seems to hold its breath right there, still and waiting. From the corner of your vision, you notice the subtle twitch of the curtain in the window opposite the porch. Maybe a draft. Behind it, shadows deepen and fade, the kind of shift your mind tries to pin down before the silence empties it away again. You blink, steady your gaze back to the peephole. The street beyond the yard is empty, mile markers fading into black like forgotten sentinels lining the winding road. A faint flickering set of headlights moves far away, brief and ghost-like, before vanishing into the dark folds of the hills. It's the kind of quiet where the smallest sound becomes a spark, the drip of a loose gutter, a distant crow, the murmuring of wet leaves pressed close. You step back from the door and check the locks one by one. Deadbolt clicks into place, the chain pulled taut. Your fingers brush the cold wood just beside the peephole. You hesitate there, hands still, heart steady, listening to the rain slow, to the silence stretching and folding in on itself. What is it about looking out through something so small, so precise, that sharpens the unease? Is it the feeling of being watched, or the question of who might be doing the watching? And as you stand there, caught between waiting and doing, you wonder if the night ever fully lets us rest, or if it keeps some kind of quiet vigil, always waiting for us to look back through the glass. Before we begin, remember to like and subscribe if you're following along tonight. Tell me, where are you listening and what time is it for you? Because what's coming next unfolds in a place where the stillness of the night folds over everything, and the rain plays a steady, whispering rhythm. It's just after 2:43 a.m., and the wet air presses quietly against the worn wooden boards of the back porch. You're standing just inside the kitchen doorway, the faint hum of the refrigerator behind you, and the faint smell of brewing coffee lingering in the air despite the late hour. The house feels heavier now, cooler, damp with the rain that's begun to fall harder outside. The scent of wet pine needles and muddy earth slips through the cracked window nearest the back door. Your shoes rest on a thin rug, dampened from the humid air, and your breath makes soft clouds as it escapes in short bursts. The rain patters steadily, a rhythmic tap that hugs the porch roof and falls in long, feathered sheets down the side walls. You turn slowly toward the door, your eyes catching a dull gleam near the corner of the porch. A shovel leans there, its handle slick with rainwater and the blade resting unevenly on the aged wood. You hadn't noticed it before, not tonight or the evening you arrived. It's not out of place exactly, but something about the way it's sitting now, almost too deliberate against the wall, makes you pause. Your heart rate nudges upward as you flick on the porch light. The bulb hums faintly, sputtering for a second before steadying. casting a harsh orange glow that splashes long shadows across the rain-slick boards. You move closer, careful not to drip wet footprints inside, and reach out, fingertips brushing the cold metal of the shovel's blade. The wood of the handle is rough under your fingers, saturated and heavier than it should be. You glance across the yard, dark and wet, the fence posts barely visible through thickening dusk. The only sound now besides rain is a soft creak from the far side of the porch, the loose latch of a gate swaying in the wind. You freeze. The air feels heavier, colder, as a new tension threads through everything you see and hear. You pull your jacket tighter around you, the damp chill rising through your shirt and down your spine. You strain to catch any other sound. Footsteps in the gravel? A whispered breath carried on the wind? Nothing but the rain and the distant echo of slow thunder moving through the hills. You return your gaze to the shovel, tilting it slightly to see if perhaps it moved on its own, or if someone left it there, waiting. Your fingers tighten briefly around the handle, the weight unfamiliar now, less like a garden tool and more like a message. You step back, careful not to disturb the careful balance of rain and shadow around you. Inside, the warmth hums quietly through the thick walls, but outside the night holds its breath, watching and waiting with the rain as a steady witness. You wonder what it is about small, ordinary things, like a shovel resting against a porch, that can make your chest tighten and your mind leap ahead into the spaces between certainty and suspicion. And in this damp, quiet hour, you ask yourself, when the minutes stretch thin and the shadows lean in close, what are you really afraid of? The rain that falls or the silence it leaves behind? Before we settle in, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're following along tonight. And I'm curious, where are you listening and what time is it? Because this moment lives in the small, heavy hours after midnight. It's 2:56 a.m., and rain still falls softly outside, the steady patter drumming low against the roof and trickling down gutter spouts. The air is thick, with the scent of wet earth and worn timber, cool and damp against your skin as you stand near the back door. You step quietly onto the porch, the wooden boards slick underfoot, moisture seeping into the grain like a slow pulse. The porch light hums faintly, casting thin, wavering shadows that stretch out toward the garden gate at the edge of the yard. Beyond, the dark shapes of bushes press close together, shadows swallowed whole by the thick night. The rain eases to a slow drizzle now, softer, like a whisper drawn out across the air. The scent of wet leaves rises from the soil, mingling with a faint, earthy musk that makes your skin prickle, not cold but aware. You move closer to the gate, fingers resting lightly on the dripping metal latch, its surface cool and slick. Your eyes adjust to the gloom beyond, the little breaks between raindrops sharp and clear against the darkness. Then something catches your eye. Tracks in the mud beside the gate. Fresh prints, muddy and uneven, pressed deeply into the softened earth. The soil at the edge of the porch shows signs of disturbance, too. Scattered droplets of water tinged with dirt. You crouch down cautiously, fingertips brushing the cool mud. The prints are faint but distinct. One set, larger than yours, heading away from the porch into the thick shadows of the backyard. No second tracks beside them, no indication who might have made them or why. You stand slowly, breath shallow but steady, the soft drizzle now a quiet backdrop to your rising awareness. A distant rumble rolls in from the hills. A faint threat or just the night breathing? You survey the yard through the cold light of the porch lamp. The fence stands silent and sturdy, but the gate swings gently on its hinges, with a creak that breaks the silence for a moment before settling back into stillness. You glance back toward the house, the windows glowing softly from inside, safe, warm, and quiet. Your fingers brush the chain lock on the door. pulling it into place with a satisfying click. The rain's faint hiss fills your ears, mingling with the distant sound of headlights, tracing slow arcs around mile markers on a winding road far away. No vehicles near, no voices, only the muted world holding its breath. You linger by the gate a moment longer, caught between the ordinary and the unknown. The muddy prints insist on a question that settles soft and deep. How much can you trust what you see in the flickering light of a quiet night? And how long will the silence outside keep its secrets tightly folded, just beyond reach? Before we get started, remember to like and subscribe, and tell me, where are you listening to this right now, and what time is it where you are? Because for me, it's just past 3:45 a.m., the kind of late hour when the house feels solid and strange all at once, as if it's holding its breath beneath the rain. You're standing at the threshold between kitchen and hallway, a narrow passage that smells faintly of old wood and cleaning products. The chilly air curls around your ankles as you step forward. Outside, the rain drums a gentle but insistent rhythm against the window pane, threading a quiet soundtrack through the walls. The scent of damp earth clings to the breeze slipping in under the door, carrying hints of pine and cold soil. The hallway light flickers, a soft stutter of illumination, then dark, then a wavering glow again. You notice it right away, because it's steady otherwise, the kind of bulb chosen for reliability, not atmosphere. You pause in the dim space, the sudden change pulling your attention sharply, making everything else fade a little. Your footsteps echo faintly as you move toward the wall switch. As your hand reaches up, the light cuts out again, leaving the corridor soaked in shadow. The floorboards seem to press closer, the walls slightly narrower. You can smell the faint acetone tang of the paint along the trim near the ceiling. Your breath feels a little loud, a soft rasp, and you catch the sound of rain shifting outside, now a soft drizzle, tapping steady on the side window near the stairs. You flip the switch once more. The bulb sputters and fires, casting an uneven pale glow. Shadows lean oddly, stretching long and thin, and you catch a glimpse of the coat rack in the corner, a blur of indistinct shapes, a scarf barely moving. You step cautiously down the hall. Each footfall is steady but conscious. The house feels alive beneath your skin, every creak and sigh folded into the darkness. The rain's rhythm fades slightly, replaced by the occasional distant groan of timber settling, and somewhere, faintly, the flutter of a screen door swinging loose. You glance ahead toward the stairwell bathed in the flickering light. The stairs disappear into darkness upstairs, silent but expectant. Below, the hallway stretches back toward the front door, faintly glowing, the peephole catching a shimmer from the outside streetlight. The wind carries a quick whisper through the cracks, barely audible, but enough to make your skin tighten. You reach the door at the end of the hall. The gilt doorknob cool beneath your palm. You press your ear against its surface, hearing nothing but the steady patter of rain beyond. The house feels crouched and watching, snug but somehow restless. You run your fingers over the latch and pull it firmly closed, the soft click both soothing and unsettling. You lean against the wall for a moment, breathing slow and aware. The flickering light resumes its uneven dance above, casting long shadows behind you. Outside, headlights flicker in the distance along the winding road, ghostly markers drifting past empty mileposts. The rain continues its steady song, and as you stand there, you wonder how much of the night's quiet is watching you back. And in the silence between the flickers, do you feel safer or just more aware of how much remains unseen? Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe if you're here with me tonight. I'm curious, where are you listening from? And what time is it for you? Because it's 4:12 a.m. where I am, and the rain outside taps against the window in a hesitant, uneven rhythm. That soft percussion draws you in, pulls you toward the quiet moments hidden in the dark. You're in the hallway now, the floors cool beneath your bare feet. The air's thick with the scent of damp wood and the faint mustiness that only old houses carry, like the memory of decades pressed into plaster and grain. Above you, the attic hatch gapes open, a dark rectangle swallowed just barely by a faint halo of light spilling from the hall. The cold draft slipping down chills your skin, teasing at the back of your neck. You move closer, every step careful but deliberate, toes curling slightly against the smooth wood. Something about the open hatch feels off. A quiet invitation, or maybe a breach, something not meant to be apparent at this hour. The light overhead flickers gently, and the hinge above you creaks softly, settling or maybe disturbed by the faint breeze. The rain outside shifts, a slow hush falling between the droplets as a distant boom of thunder rolls across the sky. Your fingertips brush the edge of the hatch frame, the wood cold and splintered. You glance up into the dark gap, but the attic above seems endless, swallowed by shadow. The faint smell of dust and stale air rises from the opening, mixed with the sharper scent of something like dry paper or old fabric tucked away for longer than memory. You pause, listening. The house is quiet, except for the layering sounds of rain, the occasional whistle of wind pressing against the eaves, and the distant drip of water falling somewhere unseen. The silence feels porous, as if it might hold more than just emptiness. You wonder whether it's just your imagination, or if the house itself breathes in this space between night and morning. Deciding against climbing up now, you let the hatch rest ajar but check the lock nearby. It was latched before, you're sure, but now the catch is loose, hanging slightly off kilter, as if someone brushed past it just recently. Your fingers press into the cool metal latch, flexing it and then letting it go with a soft snap. The rain picks up for a moment, a gentle patter rising into a steady fall that taps against the roof and slides down gutters with urgent whispers. Outside, somewhere, headlights flicker on a winding road, brief flashes in the distance that vanish quickly behind a bend, past silent mile markers hiding in thick darkness. You step back from the hatch, the cold draft brushing past your cheek again, leaving a trace of chill. It's strange how a single open door, this simple, ordinary flap in the ceiling, can hold so much quiet tension, so many unspoken possibilities. What was left ajar? And who last touched that latch beneath the roof, in the silence between the rain and the dark? You lean your head against the wall, breathing deep. Sometimes, the smallest gaps invite the biggest questions, and the night holds them just out of reach. Before you settle in, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're listening along tonight. I'm curious, where are you, and what time is it for you right now? Because out here, on this stretch of road sealed with night and rain, it's well past 1 a.m., and the air tastes thick with damp. You find yourself standing under the flickering glow of a broken street lamp, one of those weak bulbs that sputters and sighs, barely pushing back the dark. The rain hasn't let up. Fine drops skitter and splash against your coat, soaking your collar, cool and constant like a slow drumbeat. The scent of wet asphalt mingles with the earthy smell of nearby pine trees, heavy with moisture. Your shoes rest on the slick pavement, and you feel the subtle, uneven pulse of the lamp's light playing tricks on the reflections around. You glance west, where the road disappears into black folds, empty mile markers standing like silent sentinels, swallowed by fog and rain. No cars pass, no headlights cut through the distance, except for that faint glow of a distant farmstead, or maybe an old gas station you can't quite see. The wind slows and quickens, the rain droning steady but softened. Your breath comes out in quiet clouds. Damp air clings to your skin, chilling where the rain slips beneath your jacket. You shift your weight, eyes catching wet footprints on the edge of the verge. Recent. too fresh to be anything but new. One set of prints, oddly solitary. They lead from the curve in the road toward the trees, vanishing into soft mud and overgrown grass. You lean closer, watching the way the water beads in shallow puddles, the faint splash of rain on leaves. The street lamp hums and dims again, a short flicker that drains the world into shadow one breath before the light surges back. You reach into your pocket and find your phone, the screen steady and reassuring in the dimness. The clock reads 1:17 a.m. Barely time for much to happen, yet enough time for your nerves to fray under the quiet pressure. You look up, scanning the tree line, where shadows gather thick. The road is silent, empty. You listen to the rain tapping on your jacket, the slow creak of branches moving just out of reach, the faint trickle of water running down a ditch beside the gravel. No footsteps come from the woods. No sudden sounds disturb the stillness, aside from the rain's constant whisper. A chill brushes your neck, and instinct pulls you to check the locks on your car parked a few yards behind. You cross the road carefully, shoes squelching wetly, fingers fumbling over the handle and confirming the deadbolt clicks shut. The headlights are off, windows fogging from the heat inside. You take another breath and turn back toward the street lamp's dull glow. The rain falls steady, carrying the night's quiet weight. You lean against the cold metal pole, listening to the hum of the light, the rustle of wet leaves, the stillness stretched across miles of winding road and darkened mile markers. You wonder what it is about waiting in a place like this, on the edge of nowhere, held by faint light and falling rain, that makes the silence feel so much louder. Do you wait for something you fear, or for something you hope will never arrive? Before you settle in, remember to like and subscribe if you're listening along tonight. And I'm curious, where are you? And what time is it for you right now? Because for me, it's well past 2 a.m., and the rain taps relentlessly against the side window, a steady rhythm barely breaking the heavy silence. You're outside now, standing at the edge of the porch, the damp air cool against your skin, and heavy with the scent of rain-soaked wood and earth. The porch light flickers erratically overhead, casting brief pools of pale orange glow onto the slick floorboards, then plunging you into shadow again. The rain has softened to a distant murmur, droplets falling unevenly, some heavier than others, as if the sky itself is hesitating beneath the weight of something unseen. Your boots press softly against the wet wood. You lean down near the edge, fingers brushing the cold metal latch of the gate leading into the backyard. The smell here is thicker. Moldy leaves, wet soil, the faint and unmistakable musk of moss growing in the dark corners of the garden. The latch creaks faintly as you ease it open, the metal cold and slick beneath your skin. You push the gate gently, the hinges whining in protest before the gate swings open, revealing the narrow path beyond. You step carefully through the small yard, your feet sinking slightly into the soggy earth beneath scattered leaves. All around you, water gathers in puddles, reflecting the fragmented light from the flickering porch lamp above. The trees loom silent, their branches heavy with rain, the leaves trembling in the occasional gust. Somewhere beyond, a loose shutter bangs softly against the siding, a quick, hollow knock that fades into the patter of water. You pause by the garden's edge, noting the faint disturbance in the soil. There are footprints here, too small and faint for your own, and too irregular to be just the random press of wet leaves and mud. They lead toward the darkened space beneath the porch. You crouch, the cold pressing up your legs, and peer under, the blackness a hollow mouth just wide enough to swallow a shadow. Then you hear it, a soft, indistinct whisper. Not quite a voice, but a sound that brushes close, curling around your ears like a dry breath. You freeze, listening. The rain's rhythm pauses, as if the world itself holds its breath with you. Your heartbeat edges closer to your throat. You reach out, fingertips tracing the wet wood of the porch's underside. The air beneath is cooler, damper, rustling faintly with a movement too slight for anything but conscious intent. The whisper comes again, a breathy sigh, a shift in the stillness that makes the hairs on your arms rise. You stand slowly, the weight of waiting settling deep in your bones. The porch groans softly around you, the rain resumes its uneasy tapping, and the distant road hums faintly, with the ghost of headlights passing long, empty mile markers. There, beneath the porch, the dark holds its quiet secret, and you wonder, in this rain-washed stillness, if waiting is the same as knowing. How long do you listen before the silence answers?